today. It's no slides today. It's boring.
Yeah, a chat.
Yeah, just hang out.
So I guess if you could start with introducing yourself a bit. And yeah, it's crazy because I first met you in this room, I think, actually at the what was the thing in January that was not ETH Berlin, but the
Girly Testnet launch.
Exactly. So yeah, vividly remember being like, who is this person with an amazing dog? And yeah, when the stage used to be over there. So, yeah, very cool to be back in here with you.
Yeah, a lot of time, a lot of water under the bridge. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm reading here the notes, and it says, I'm in the cab. Maybe we start with some history. No, so I'm María Paula. I've been in the blockchain space for a very long time. Actually, the event in Factory Berlin started because I met the factory CEO of the time in 2017, and we needed a venue, and we did the first DeFi meetup in Berlin in November 2017 or something like that, and then they decided to branch out to events, and they made a lot of money, and I got no kickback. So that's another case for funding the commons or me. Jokes aside, I got into blockchain because I was born in Argentina. Of course, nothing works there, especially the economy, but also the governance systems, and nothing is transparent. So the idea of a public ledger, the idea of a user-controlled currency, and distributed governance and whatever, just felt like a really promising approach towards restoring a little bit the dignity of people that lost it. Basically, they keep on losing it all. It goes through cycles there. So it's like so and so for like a couple of years, and then it's like a shit show again, and then it's a little bit better, and then it's a shit show again, but it's never good. It's just down only with a little bit of like planes. And what this does is to have a population that's constantly trying to extract because they don't know when things will get better. It just doesn't. And I think that's and obviously Argentina is not even one of the countries that's doing the worst. We're talking about a country that gets by, but it just creates a very undignifying experience for people. Like you need to go to the black market to buy euros, or to buy dollars if you need to travel, and everything is very complicated. Anyways, I really believe that blockchain was going to do something for countries like Argentina and Latin America. It did stuff. It's actually working. I read somewhere that 51% of Argentinians of Latin Americans actually know of crypto or have used crypto. And in the last bull market, the highest adopter was Nigeria. So it's still meaningful. So that's why I'm still here. Of course, because I really believe in the mission as well, I decided to start a grassroots organization, the Department of Decentralization. We did educational events here at Factory Berlin with the same sound guy. Hi. We have been supporting projects via hackathons, giving people their initial funding to bootstrap projects, such as Piñata started at ETH Berlin, or Meta Cartel also started at ETH Berlin, and of course the Girly Testnet, which we then adopted into the larger DoD. Now I'm not in the DoD anymore. I think that a Department of Decentralization shouldn't have the same centralized leader for too long. So Afri's in charge. He's a wonderful leader, and I'm very happy about it. And I went on to pursue a more capitalistic dream, or a more crypto-native dream, like I like to call it, and started my own company based off all of the research that I did with the DoD into NFTs as cultural objects, blockchain-informed art, and different funding mechanisms, which Beth co-authored one of the papers. So fast forward, this was in 2021. 2 years have passed and a really hard bear market. And the products that we launched were really successful. We had a wonderful community, including Misha over there. Hi, Misha. And I think we really succeeded. We created a powerful knowledge base for NFTs based on the assumption that NFTs are networked digital and cultural objects. We created a powerful knowledge base that was crowdsourced by experts, that was open to everyone. But the thing is that with VC money, we created the equivalent of Wikipedia, and also the equivalent of Wikipedia editors, but very nice people, not really weird people like in Wikipedia. So the thing is that, of course, my company is VC funded. I didn't have the goal of creating a public good. Also, because it's NFTs and people still, and people, of course, see all the apes and whatever. So it's really hard to claim that my company has built a public good, even if it's open, if it's a knowledge base, if the contributors are working for free, if it's non-transactional, but it's about NFTs. So it's extremely hard. I also don't feel comfortable with the claim. It took us a while to understand that it was sort of a public good, but pursuing any kind of funding for public goods didn't quite make sense, and also didn't adapt to the way that we started the company. So we had to fold that part. So I'm here just to talk about my experience. The Department of Decentralization, of course, it's a German-based nonprofit. It's absolutely a public good. I'm gonna die on my grave. I'm gonna die on that hill. The Department of Decentralization was started in 2018 and has been building and creating educational initiatives, test nets, different kind of micro initiatives, everything for free. As a matter of fact, Protocol Berg next week, it's a white label conference, and it's completely for free as well. So that's a public good. That took a lot of work to be bootstrapped and funded. So yeah.
Well, I want to right-click on one part of that, because I remember at one point of Department of Decentralization, some people were attacking us on Twitter, saying that we were extractive for organizing these educational events and conferences and research that we were not only not getting paid for, but spending a lot of our own money and sanity and time on. And that discussion has just really stuck with me in terms of thinking about world building and defining commons, because it's what was I guess they thought we were making money from it somehow, which was definitely not true. But I think they also thought
the problem was that we were women.
I mean, yeah,
and that we weren't coders, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because they were the opposing argument to Beth's Twitter fight was that we were taking money from the coders. And they seem to not understand that all these things that we were creating, and the Department of Decentralization was also an almost all-female organization. They seem to not get the memo that actually these guys were being fed, granted, taken care of, communicated, elevated, everything that we were doing that was, and we are people primarily with soft skills. And they seem to think that the code could just be launched and then it got adopted. So yeah, it's a little bit, it was a little bit of a mental gymnastic demo.
Yeah, and I think there's several really important points that came out of that. Number one, the fact of as we think about how to measure success and just what parameters to measure the benefit of a public good, outcomes that are second order effects from that is a major one. For example, the projects that you mentioned that came out of ETH Berlin and all of the funds that has brought into the market, all of the jobs that's created, all of the, to make it super soft and qualitative, all the relationships and community building factors of that. And yeah, so I think it's really interesting, and also we'll touch on this with how it relates to JPEG in a second, but on one hand, the outcome itself that happens, so whether it's like a collective archiving practice, a digital object that's useful, like an event that happens where people are getting fed in the immediate term, but also something larger is coming out of that. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about this kind of thread weaving through that, where the community or relationships that build around something are also kind of a public good in of itself, like ecosystem building as a commonsing and yeah, public good creating practice?
Yeah, so East Berlin and Department of Decentralization weren't just a place to come and enjoy Berlin and have some parties and then hack some stuff and earn some prizes. Basically, what we did from the very inception, and like really quite organically, and just because we felt like it, was follow up on almost all of the projects. So, being an East Berlin hacker meant that you could contact us at any stage and anywhere in the world, and, we would do things for you. Here, if you wanted to come to Berlin and you wanted to hack, we would obviously, help you with your visa, eventually help you with jobs as well, make recommendations. So it's it became a network that was larger than the event. The events were very fun, but the network was more important, and it was crucial to the success of a lot of projects.
Yeah, and I think that also brings to mind a major question for us to think of in this kind of meta level of like, how do you have that kind of care and nurturing in a systemic way that's like scalable? Because original people that are starting such things like that, you just cannot be doing that kind of work constantly for years, but then how do you maintain kind of protocols and rituals going forward so that it can decentralize through other people? Or yeah, how do you kind of control for the fact that that's unsustainable for the original individuals? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we were having a similar conversation yesterday, and it was about how do you hire and how people are sourcing candidates now, and how blockchain conferences have sort of professionalized in a way that hiring processes have professionalized in a way that, before we used to look at your code, we felt that we had a good vibe, and then, you were hired. And now, as companies get bigger, of course, they have all of these extensive processes, and you lose, you lose the capacity to create a culture. And what we did that was right, and what we also did at JPEG, was creating the culture first. Creating the culture, what was important for us, what we liked. It's very important to also show what you like, because that's going to bring other people as well. And creating the culture of East Berlin and DoD and JPEG has all been really organic and very, very much connected to who we are, because that's the only way that we know how to do it. I'm not a CEO. I didn't go to business school, so I learned by doing. So everything, what comes from within and comes from vibes, honestly. Like I hate the word vibes, but it's about that, And it's managed to stay pure since 2018, so we must be doing something right.
Definitely. Yeah, can you speak a little bit about how this kind of culture setting internally on the team filters through like behaviors of contributors, like how the high quality output, associated with your brand ends up being a reflection of the culture that you're setting, and what that kind of looked like in practice?
Yeah, that's a really big question, and we only have probably like 7 minutes, but I'll try. Basically, when it comes to setting up what we set up as JPEG and finding our contributors, and we scaled to 11 people at the time. Now, of course, we're post. Basically, we began with the assertion that NFTs are cultural, digital, and networked objects. Of course, there's some of them that are completely meaningless, about like 75%, but there's really good culture being captured there. And the networks of collectors and the constellations that of communities that they create are extremely powerful as well. They are capturing a snapshot of crypto culture. So we started with that, and we started with, if art has all this infrastructure and archiving systems and libraries and you name it, registrars to preserve it, then we should also try to preserve it. And NFTs are like the easiest way to go, because then you obviously would need to take a snapshot of Reddit, where things took place in 2017, and you need to really continue. But we can only do one thing. That assertion resonated with a lot of people, and that's why people came to JPEG. Also, the claim to be building context to understand a little bit better crypto culture and art within NFTs really struck a chord, because there's people that really believe there's art there. So starting from there, everyone that came to us was excited about the same thing, and I have to say it was really, really organic and a really nice time.
Definitely. Well, can you share some of the learnings that you guys were iterating on throughout that process that we can take for other commons building initiatives that, with funding the commons, and just lessons for the community in general, for creating kind of anti-fragile and adaptive communities? Yeah,
sure. Of course, everything is bound to falter in this particular, in these particular settings of crypto. But one of the things that we understood is that we need to stick with what works. And the moment that you see something working, where people are liking it, people are doing the actions that you actually want them to do, and people are happy to do those actions. There's no, this transactional sort of, they're not expecting retribution. They're just doing it because they think it's meaningful. Then you should probably stick with that. And you should probably stick with that, and you should probably not try to expand too fast or to integrate 1,000 features. You should stick to that and make it amazing. And improve the experience, improve the core, talk to the users, and ask them what they like and what they want to see, and keep everyone super close until you have a very solid proposal, and then you're able to scale. Because the bootstrapping, bootstrapping a product or project is really fun, but things start to fall apart, and technical debt and community debt start to accumulate, and then you have a huge ball of things that are unsustainable, and you need to start again. You really need to start again. So we learned that. Luckily, we were lucky to post a product that actually worked, but it wasn't going to work in the way that we set up the company. And that's also a big learning. It's not a mistake, it's a learning. If we're going to VC fund and set to build something, we need to know if that can scale. We were building something we thought it was important, and that's obviously really important, to reiterate myself, but you also need to ask several questions and be responsible, because later, when you need to fold something or fire people, you're really going to regret it.
Yeah. This, I know we probably have like 1 minute or something, but just that brought up a question that we also discussed in the Measuring Impact workshop yesterday, which is it's impossible, you could never have known exactly the challenges of scaling at the time that y'all were making those decisions, because the market was so different and the regulatory landscape was so different, and the appetite for NFTs changed so much since then. Taking that learning forward, how would you incorporate those elements into designing for scalability, or trying to predict on a meta level, even if it's impossible to guess that these changes will happen?
I think you said something really important there, measuring for impact. We measured people that thought we were cool. We measured people that would talk about the brand, but then we didn't realize that those people weren't actually converting into being active contributors of these knowledge bases that we created, and that probably were never going to do it. And the people that were, the loudest proponents of JPEG initially, and even institutional people, from serious art institutions that would invite me to speak at their conference and everything, would never convert, would never test what we were doing. It was just an idea to them. And then, the users that were there with us, initially we were, we paid more attention to the glossy part, and then at some point we realized no one, we just needed to pay attention to measuring impact with the real users, with the people that had, that we were were finding meaning through the platform.
Yeah, and it's a tricky paradox too, because to keep, the purity of the platform that maintains those people, and also to get more people to be attracted to something that, has this high brand integrity.
Yeah.
Then, it's having to build for those users.
Yeah, maintaining brand and maintaining product fidelity are two very different things. When you have a very small team like us, where I was the only person that was maintaining the both, then you need to choose your battles, unfortunately. It would have been nice to scale and to have more people in our team, but we didn't make it on time, and we decided to preserve the funds that we have and start building from scratch.
Yeah, well, I think, it's so important to have these super frank and vulnerable conversations, especially while we're in the middle of this bear market, so that we can, prepare ourselves for what the next bull market will look like. Where do you see this intersection of the art world or the crypto art world and this community building and DAO area of work intersecting as we head into an unknown future?
There's super little interaction, and that's why it's really hard to establish a cultural public good in this sense, because people, will see the word NFTs and run, and I can't blame them. It's a mess out there.
Definitely, yeah. So less about anticipating that there might be another influx of funds mediated through NFTs or generated from NFTs, but instead thinking about NFTs as digital objects serving as other purposes, and going forward with that as a primitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and was about to formulate that into a question, and then I saw that our time is up, so just
yes.
rambled.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.